PhilsGang.com. You'll build your investing confidence even through down cycles and periods of uncertainty. Go to PhilsGang.com. PhilsGang.com today. 877-600-GANG. 877-600-4264.
Hi, I'm Phil Grandy of PhilsGang.com. You know, over the years, I've successfully taught tens of thousands of investors how to navigate the market with confidence. Become a Phil's Gang member and receive the training, the advice, and the software that will take your investing to the next level. You know, I have a team comprised of successful investors, all with proven track records. And the Phil's Gang software is easy to use, painless to navigate, and tells you exactly when to buy, when to sell, when to hold, when to run like hell, even short. Learn about common market mistakes and how to minimize them. You don't have to be a seasoned investor to benefit from Phil's Gang and platform. No matter what level investor you are, my strategies for investing are designed to put you on the path to success. Sign up for the 10-day free trial to see our platform in action. Avoid market pitfalls and start winning with Phil's Gang. Learn more at philsgang.com. That's philsgang.com.
The stocks discussed on Phil's Gang are not in any way a recommendation or solicitation to buy, sell, or hold. If considering acting on information presented, we first recommend you seek out a competent, licensed professional for advice. Get ready for the radio show that tells you what Wall Street doesn't want you to know.
Oh, I'm a money magnet. Money's coming to me. Money sets me free. I'm a money magnet. Money's coming to me.
It's your daily dose of how to manage your money. And now it's time for Phil's Gang on the Off the Wall Street Radio Network. With your host, Phil Grandy.
We still have a good, healthy labor market. Consumer spending remains quite robust. We've seen strong industrial production. I don't see any signs that the economy is at risk of a downturn.
Lie.
Boy, is that a lie. Unbelievable. Just last week, they're telling us that, again, remember, it used to be, or the myth was, that we have job openings, abundance of job openings, very strong. And the labor market, very strong. Wages, very strong. Then we came out last week, and it was, no, that was not last week, but on August 29th and 30th, they came out and said just the opposite of what she's saying. And instead of the market dropping, remember they came in and they did a spin that, oh, well, bad news could be good news because now they won't raise rates. Oh, they'll raise rates, all right. You know, it's amazing. I mean, Yellen, everything she's saying is just a lie. It's just a total lie. She says that
This is the best of all worlds, to see continued strength in the economy, a good, strong labor market, and inflation moving down. And that is what we're seeing.
inflation's moving up because oil's moving up. This woman is lying. Unbelievable. Just unbelievable. Last week, we were told by Powell and Biden we were in a Goldilocks economy with diminishing inflation. Can you imagine that? I mean, a total lie. Even though the headline inflation was, the number was up at 3.7%, going against all the efforts of the Federal Reserve to contain it. Core inflation. And again, remember, take out food and energy and gasoline, dropped slightly, tiny, but still up 4.3%. I mean, they're nuts. Americans right now are paying, the consumer are now paying about 19% more for goods and groceries than when Biden announced with Powell and Yellen, remember, that inflation was transitory. What happened to that? That was a lie. Unbelievable. Now, remember, the principal cause of inflation is when the government spends more money than they collect in revenue. And right now, they're collecting, again, $7 trillion. But they got a record $2 trillion in deficits. So they're spending $2 trillion more than they're collecting. Now, as far as inflation, how can they say inflation is contained, it's going down, it's a Goldilocks economy? Now, what they're saying about it being a Goldilocks economy, if you take food and energy out, inflation's going down. Well, that's stupid. You just can't take food and energy out and say, hey, things are wonderful. That's how we had that rally last week, and then we gave it all back. Do you remember that? And I told everybody that would happen. Let me see what it's doing there today. I mean, this is amazing. They just think, they know they can get away with it. That's all. They know people are just not paying attention. Here, right here. Remember, it was on August 29th, and in August 30, they came out and said, no, it's not true that we had a strong job openings, and it's not true we have a strong economy. But they rallied it based on, well, if that's the case, then that's good news. They're not going to raise rates. And they gave that back. And then it was last week they came out, and the numbers came out and showed just the opposite. And they said, well, that's good news again. It rallied, remember, one day, 400 points, and then they gave it all back. They keep giving it all back. Look, what it comes down to is the timing of the market crash, okay? I mean, there's about four things that can take this market down 50%. And it's going to be down 50% because if you take our GDP growth to our debt, we should be about 100. We're 160. That alone says the market's got to correct. So when you have a total value, or say market cap, of the S&P at 100 on its outstanding shares, if that continues to exceed where we are today at 160, that means the market's overvalued by at least 48%. 48%. Because, again, we can't stay at a current, exceed a GDP growth by 160%. We can't do that. We can't survive. It just doesn't make sense. We should be around 100. So if you extrapolate it, that means the market's got to come down at least 48% to be in line where we should be with our economic growth to debt. But right now, our debt is so high, it just doesn't make sense. Also, remember, if they're going to pivot back to QE, and he may do that, he may panic. Powell could panic and pivot back to QE before inflation is contained. And if he does that, deficits will soar. The 10-year Treasury yield will skyrocket and destroy the housing market, the construction market. I mean, destroy the economy. And also remember the emergency bank term funding program, that emergency program that's holding up the banks, propping them up. Now, if Powell at any time says, okay, I'm going to unwind this, remember, it's only supposed to be for 12 months. But if he unwinds this and reverses it, in return, remember, hey, listen, I'm going to give you back your securities, okay? I'll give you back your mortgages, and you put up for collateral, and you got to give me back the credit. What a disaster that would be. The market would drop incredibly. I mean, we'd be probably in a depression if they did that. So we got that over our heads. And China announced it's reducing the amount. If they announce at any time they're going to reduce the amount of U.S. dollars it will accept from us for their goods. If they announce that they got a new BRICS deal, where now they got they got their BRICS currency they've been working on, and if they announce that, because remember their currency they're working on is backed by gold. Do you understand what would happen? If they decided not to accept dollars for their goods, that means that you can't go to Walmart, you can't go to Home Depot, you can't go to Lowe's and get anything discounted. Those prices would be just as expensive as Ralph Lauren, for God's sakes. That could happen any time because remember, China is working with the BRICS nations. They're trying to put their own currency together. They're trying to pull away from our currency, and they're trying to put a currency together backed by gold. So again, there's so many things out there that are so dangerous, but the total value market cap of this S&P outstanding shares is 100. Please understand that. And if it continues to exceed our economic growth of the current by 160, that's a disaster waiting to happen. So, and inflation has been the cause of all of this. So to say last week that we have a Goldilocks economy, and if we just take out inflation, take out food and energy, that it proves that we're doing good, that the inflation is going down. That's like pulling the engine out of your car and saying, hey, we're doing pretty good, even though we pulled the engine out of the car. Look how nice it looks. Unbelievable. This is incredible. We'll be back.
Want more information on this show? Go to philsgang.com or give them a call at 877-600-GANG. When you listen to the advice of Phil Grandy at philsgang.com, you'll find investing in the stock market makes sense with the right guidance.
People keep saying to me, boy, things are hard, things are tough. Boy, the market's really screwed up. And I don't agree with them. For us here at Phil's Gang, we make it so it's simple. It doesn't matter if the market's bad or good. We consistently do well because we make it simple. And just like for my listeners on the radio or on the internet or my podcast, we make it simple. We try to break it down so you really understand why the market is going up or why there's continued inflation or why the bank rates are going up. So you understand. Especially yields. The most important thing to understand how yields work. Just what we do. We work hard at it.
Trusted advice, easy to understand strategies that will make you a better investor. Get all the details at philsgang.com. That's philsgang.com. When making wise investment decisions, Phil Grandy has some sound reasons you should join Phil's Gang.
When I started this, they asked me, okay, can you explain to people why they should join the gang? Gee, I thought about that. And I guess to make money, but more than that, to get good direction on which way the economy's really going. We get so much crap, so many lies, how great the economy is and how great the tech business is, and when it's not. The problem is we have too many people in Washington and in this industry that just don't tell the truth. The truth is everything. And here at Phil's Gang, we stick with the facts. We tell the truth. We make sure our members, are getting the best information, and our listeners, like you. We make that information available to you and make it simple and understandable.
Good investing means understanding how the stock market works. Join today at philsgang.com.
I've been a Phil's Gang member since 2014. Over that time, I've generated over six-figure profits. Following Phil, his charting system has really been a huge impact on my career and my life. I would recommend Phil's Gang to the mom and pop out there. I would recommend it to parents teaching their children. I would recommend it to grandparents. If you really trust in their system, you will do well.
For more information, go to philsgang.com or give us a call at 877-600-4264. When the stock market is up one day and down the next, you need experienced advice from a pro.
Hi, I'm Phil Grandy at philsgang.com. I know you're sitting there watching the stock market. You're going, what? Is this nuts? Market goes up 700 points. Next day goes up 800 points. Then the market goes back down. Then it goes back up. What that is volatility.
You want to invest your money and grow your wealth. How do you invest intelligently?
But you got to anticipate what's going to happen with the market. And that's what we give you. Information so you can anticipate in advance what the market's going to do, so you know what stocks to buy, you know what stocks to short. It's all about having good information and anticipation. You got to anticipate. The one thing you can't do is rely on your brokers. Listen.
Our responsibility begins and ends with our partners and our shareholders, and that's it.
What are you, nuts? Partners and shareholders? You're not included.
Check out the free 10-day trial and follow Phil to investing success. Learn more at philsgang.com. philsgang.com. If you want to invest your money and grow your wealth, just listen to Phil Grandy.
Hi, I'm Phil Grandy at philsgang.com. There's many reasons to listen to a radio show, but I think to listen to my show, you get the truth, you get clarity, and you get great information.
No matter what level of investor you are, Phil's Gang strategies for investing are designed to put you on the path to success.
You know what? Most of all, it's fun. philsgang.com. Clarity, good information, and fun.
When making wise investment decisions, Phil Grandy has some sound reasons you should join Phil's Gang.
You know, when I started this, they asked me, okay, can you explain to people why they should join the gang? Gee, I thought about that. And I guess to make money. But more than that, to get good direction on which way the economy's really going. We get so much crap, so many lies, how great the economy is and how great the tech business is, and when it's not. The problem is we have too many people in Washington and in this industry that just don't tell the truth. The truth is everything. And here at Phil's Gang, we stick with the facts. We tell the truth. We make sure our members, are getting the best information, and our listeners, like you. We make that information available to you and make it simple and understandable.
Good investing means understanding how the stock market works. Join today at philsgang.com. You're not a regular listener to Phil's Gang? What, are you nuts? Listen to Phil Grandy and check out philsgang.com. Now, here's Phil.
You know, it's amazing when you hear lies like this.
President Biden is committed to keeping the economy on a fiscally sustainable course.
If that was true, he wouldn't be running the deficits he's running. It's the deficits that are killing us. It's the deficits spending more money than the tax revenue. That's where inflation comes from, not from consumer spending like they try to take parking space in your head and convince you. This is crazy. And as I said, there's 4 areas I just spoke about that could put us immediately into a correction. And it shows we have to have a correction. There's no way around it. When your economic growth, when you're exceeding, the debt exceeds your growth by 160% when it should be 100%, not 160. You gotta correct. And what is she talking about? Look we already got news from the Saudis, from Russia, that they're cutting their oil. They're cutting their oil production. So prices went up. Matter of fact, when they kept saying that, and the oil was going down, if you remember, I said to my members, when the price of oil drops 35%, we're going to go in and start buying oil stocks. And we did, and we're up about 22%. Now we're taking most of our profits now. But again, we know that oil is going to go higher. I mean, these guys are serious. They're cutting. And so what does he do when they announced last week they're going to cut even more? He goes and says, gee, I'm going to participate too. I'm going to go and cut all the, get rid of all the drilling contracts on the federal lands in Alaska. 11 billion barrels of oil is underneath those ice caps, and he won't drill them. The same time that the Saudis and Russia announced they're cutting production by 1 million barrels a day, he announces he's cutting production. Whose side's he on? What is she talking about? He's being responsible. What the hell is she talking about?
President Biden is committed to keeping the economy on a fiscally...
So is that a commitment to take care of our economy by going along with Russia and China and cut, Saudis? Come on. And since the day that Biden took office, under his leadership, we've been experiencing the largest economic downturn ever. He first destroyed our oil industry. And then he was bound and determined to expand our debt and deficits to create inflation so he could take that inflation, make sure the dollar value drops, and that way he wouldn't have to write a check to our dollar-based debt to China, that the value of the dollar going down would pull our debt down. And that was destroying your jobs doing that. So instead of introducing productivity is what tamps down inflation, but he didn't introduce productivity. He introduced printing more money, knowing inflation was going to go up, because he doesn't care. And then, after he destroyed our oil industry, he expands debt and deficit. He doesn't care how much he spends. And then he does 3 massive spending bills, the biggest spending bills in history, when we didn't need them, as I told you last week. When he took over, Trump left him an economy that was growing at 6%. We got an economy that's growing, what's it now, Willie? 2.3%? 2.3%. She says the economy's doing well? Last time I went to school, 2.3 is a hell of a lot lower than 6. What the hell is she talking about? The American COVID Rescue Plan, the Inflation Reduction Plan. And then she's bragging today about, what the hell plan was there she's talking about today? Let me see if I got it here for you.
The Infrastructure Act, the CHIPS Act, the Inflation Reduction Act, these are all long-term spending measures that will really boost the growth of the economy and add to its job-creating capacity.
Oh, quiet. So, spending $2 million, printing and sending $2 million to a Democrat governor so he could build a ski area. He prints $2 million more, and he sends it to another governor, Democrat governor, for a golf course. Matter of fact, there was 2 ski areas they were building. He took care of the money for the Democrat governors. Are you kidding? And then these ridiculous electric ferry boats, $50 million each. Are you kidding me? A bird sanctuary, $25 million. And then she's talking about how great manufacturing is, when manufacturing's at a 14-year low, and because production is down. And she says production is up. Industrial production is down. We had the biggest drop since December 2022. And she's saying just the opposite. What the hell's wrong with her? And here they are with the 13 million jobs again.
So since I've come to office, all they've really done is attack me and my economic plan. There hadn't been much else. Even though we've created, as I pointed out, over 13 million jobs, more jobs.
That's all they talk about. He only created 3 million. The other 10, we all know now, okay, are the jobs that people already had and went back to. So, if you think about this, the banks are in serious trouble. Deep trouble. And that's why this market's going to drop 50%. I don't care what they're telling you. What's happening right now is that bank term funding program is artificially holding it up. And they even lied to us and came out and said, oh, the stress tests are wonderful. Banks are solid. Well, remember when Cramer and Cramer came out and talked about Bear Stearns?
Should I be worried about Bear Stearns in terms of liquidity and get my money out of there? No, no, no.
Same thing. They came out with the stress test, saying Bear Stearns, all these banks were strong. And what was it, 2 weeks later, Bear Stearns went under? And here we are again now. It's the banks that are most important to our economy, and they're going bust. But people don't realize it's not just banks. It's what we call the shadow banks are also in deep trouble. But they'll never talk to you about that. When I get back, I will. And the other thing is, you've got to learn how to sell short so you don't care if the market goes up or down with inflation, with rate hikes or no rate hikes.
Want more information on this show? Go to philsgang.com or give them a call at 877-600-GANG. If you want to invest your money and grow your wealth, listen to this.
Hi, I'm Phil Grandy at philsgang.com. You know, I get so tired of listening to the same garbage every day, listening to the fake business news network telling you why you should buy this stock, why you should buy, and they're always wrong. Join my gang, philsgang.com, free for 10 days. You're going to learn when to buy a stock and when not to buy a stock. Hey, years ago it was different. You could buy a stock based on fundamentals. You could buy a stock based on earnings. You could buy a stock based on PE ratios. Those days are gone. That ended with QE. That ended when they financially engineered the market in 2008. Gone. Now you got to follow the money. And we have the knowledge because we have the chart. Pro 2 color code chart tells you when to buy, when to sell, when to run like hell.
For a limited time, you can join Phil's Gang free for 10 days.
Check it out, philsgang.com. Get the truth, get the knowledge, and understand how the market really works.
I believe that every single human being with a laptop computer and an internet connection should be required to give trading at least a shot.
Following Phil, his charting system has really been a huge impact on my career and my life.
I believe that every educated individual on planet Earth.
I would recommend Phil's Gang to the mom and pop out there. I would recommend it to parents teaching their children. I would recommend it to grandparents.
Should do this. It's not for every single human being on Earth. I know this, but it's one of those things that you should try, because if you happen to get it right, if you happen to be one of the ones that this is for,
Follow the money. Follow Phil Grandy.
oh my God.
Hi, I'm Phil Grandy, philsgang.com. That's right, philsgang.com. Join my gang for 10 days. It's free.
What's in front of you is a life of incredible joy, freedom, and independence.
What if you could have an in-depth understanding of the stock market just like the pros? Well, thanks to Phil Grandy and philsgang.com, you can. philsgang.com offers comprehensive, up-to-date market information designed to help you understand and anticipate market behavior. With philsgang.com, you'll build your investing confidence even through down cycles and periods of uncertainty. Go to philsgang.com. philsgang.com today. 877-600-GANG. 877-600-4264. When you listen to the advice of Phil Grandy at philsgang.com, you'll find investing in the stock market makes sense with the right guidance.
People keep saying to me, boy, things are hard, things are tough. Boy, the market's really screwed up. And I don't agree with them. For us here at Phil's Gang, we make it so it's simple. It doesn't matter if the market's bad or good. We consistently do well because we make it simple. And just like for my listeners on the radio or on the internet or my podcast, we make it simple. We try to break it down so you really understand why the market is going up, or why there's continued inflation, or why the bank rates are going up. So you understand, especially yields. The most important thing is to understand how yields work. Just what we do. We work hard at it.
Trusted advice, easy to understand strategies that will make you a better investor. Get all the details at philsgang.com. That's philsgang.com. What if you could have an in-depth understanding of the stock market just like the pros? Well, thanks to Phil Grandy and philsgang.com, you can. philsgang.com offers comprehensive, up-to-date market information designed to help you understand and anticipate market behavior. With philsgang.com, you'll build your investing confidence even through down cycles and periods of uncertainty. Go to philsgang.com. philsgang.com today. 877-600-GANG. 877-600-4264. When you listen to the advice of Phil Grandy at philsgang.com, you'll find investing in the stock market makes sense with the right guidance.
People keep saying to me, boy, things are hard, things are tough. Boy, the market's really screwed up. And I don't agree with them. For us here at Phil's Gang, we make it so it's simple. It doesn't matter if the market's bad or good. We consistently do well because we make it simple. And just like for my listeners on the radio or on the internet or my podcast, we make it simple. We try to break it down so you really understand why the market is going up, or why there's continued inflation, or why the bank rates are going up. So you understand, especially yields. The most important thing is to understand how yields work. Just what we do. We work hard at it.
Trusted advice, easy to understand strategies that will make you a better investor. Get all the details at philsgang.com. That's philsgang.com. Welcome back. Learn, invest, and make profits with Phil Grandy. Simply go to philsgang.com. Now, here's Phil.
And welcome back to Phil's Gang. Wednesday, they're going to announce if they're going to be doing an interest rate cut or an interest rate hike. And it doesn't matter. It shouldn't matter to you. If you know how to short stock as well as buy a stock. Think about it for a moment. The first half of this year, you haven't made any money in your 401k. You haven't, or you made very little. But if you shorted the market in specific groups, like we did, we shorted, for example, the airlines, the travel stocks, and we got great returns on shorting the cruise lines like CCL and Norwegian Cruise Line, and we shorted Dell and Alaskan Airline. All those airlines we shorted. We did terrific with those. And then while we were shorting those, we went in and bought oil. Nobody wanted oil. They never thought oil was going up again. And I said, really? And I said, when they cut oil prices, they dropped by 35% a barrel, we're going to start buying oil stocks. And those oil stocks went up about 22%. So here we're buying oil at the same time shorting the travel industry. And that's what you have to do to be successful. This day of just buying and holding and hang on with a 401k, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. You got too much going against you. You got a president and a White House, they don't care how much they spend. And when they spend more than the tax revenues you and I pay, you have deficits. And deficits are killers. They're killers because deficits have to be paid. And they have to print money to pay them. And when you print money, that's more inflation. And then you got to start all over again. Because of that inflation you created to pay your deficits, you got to now go and start printing more money to try to get that inflation down. So they were telling us, as I told you, that the banks are doing better. But no, they're not. But it's not just the banks that are in deep trouble. Because remember, mortgage origination is dying, okay? Banks, again, remember, are tightening. We haven't seen tightening like this. Tightening's up about 80%. 80%. We've never seen this kind of tightening. Never. The banks aren't lending. So here's what happens to these banks. It's not just banks that are hurting. What they don't want to tell you is the shadow banks that are hurting. So in other words, you have these companies, you have hedge funds, you have pension funds, you have 401k funds, insurance companies. They go and they buy mortgage-backed securities. They buy treasuries from banks. Now, they yield about 3%. But because of Biden's craziness, where he keeps on spending more than we take in because of the deficits, they had to keep raising rates. But of course, Yellen sits there and lies, bold-faced lies, and says,
President Biden is committed to keeping the economy on a fiscally sustainable course.
Imagine that, saying a lie like that. I mean, that's a bold-faced lie. So now all these shadow banks are insurance company. You got all these pension funds. You got hedge funds. They go and they buy all of these assets from the banks, and they sit there getting a yield of 3%, and he creates all this inflation, spending more money he takes in, and now they're sitting there with 3% yield, and now the rates go to 7 to 8%. They're getting slaughtered. That's what happened with Silicon Valley Bank, Regional, and First Republic. But then you notice you never heard anything after those three banks. Like everything's okay again. Everything's okay again. No, the shadow banks are getting killed, as well as regular banks. It's terrible. So what do they decide to do? they decide, instead of dealing with it, kick the can down the road. They decided, because we're entering into, remember, September starts the pre-election season of 2024. And you know that Biden is putting a lot of pressure on Powell, okay, to make sure that these banks don't fail. So they put in the Bank Term Funding Program, emergency program, and it was amazing. I mean, and by the way, in 10 days, they loaned out $400 billion. And then they lied after that. They came out and said, right after that, the stress test, boy, the banks passed the stress test, and are they strong? Exactly what they did right before Bear Stearns went down. Same exact thing. So I don't care about the stress test. What do I care about the stress test? It's all a lie. Now, the problem is this. When they're propping up the banks, and they're propping up the shadow banks with this bank failure program that's going on, the Bank Term Funding Program, it creates a problem in the market. Because tourist traders who don't know what the hell they're doing look around and say, gee, the Fed rate went from minus 8% up to 2%. I don't see anything happening. The market's still going up. Gee, earnings are down. The worst earnings in 25 years. But stocks are still going up. I don't see anything wrong. This is the tourist traders. This is what they're looking at. They don't see anything wrong. Gasoline's going up. Oil's going up. The stock market keeps going up. They don't see anything wrong. Then they believe, hey, they're right. This is a Goldilocks economy with diminishing inflation. If you take out food and energy, everything's fine. What are you, nuts? And then they throw on the stress test. This is all going to blow up, because what's going to happen is this. Think about this. What's going to make a terrible, terrible crash, is if they, again, one is if Powell panics and pivots back to QE because of the pre-election season that we're in. And we're going to know that on Wednesday. And you shouldn't have to worry. My gang members don't have to worry. Everybody else is worried. I wonder if they're going to put rates up or put rates down. What stocks do I buy? Everybody's worried. Not us. My gang's not, because they have the skills to sell short. If they make an announcement and the market goes down, they have the skills to buy stock if things are, whatever they say makes the stocks go up. But remember, the worst thing could happen is Powell pivots back to zero rate interest. Remember the money he printed to give the companies to buy their own outstanding shares to prop up the earnings without earnings, and which would prop up their stock price, creating a bubble. And then now that could happen. Then the emergency bank funding. What if they cut the emergency bank funding and they tell all the banks, hey, we want our credit back, and here's your security you gave us, the mortgage-backed securities. I'm going to give that back to you. But we're going to cancel the credit with you. That alone would put us into a damn recession, for God's sakes. China is getting close to doing a deal with the BRICS countries. And all the BRICS countries, they want their own currency backed by gold. And that means if there's a hint of a rumor that they're going to start doing that and not take all our dollars for the goods that we buy. So that means all those cheap goods at Walmart, and I should say inexpensive goods at Walmart and Lowe's, those will be as high as Ralph Lauren prices, for God's sake. These are all the things that are laying on the table here. Any trigger could be pulled on any of these four. But you don't know how to short. What are you going to do?
Want more information on this show? Go to philsgang.com or give them a call at 877-600-GANG.
You're not alone. 80% of those in the stock market, just like you, lose money. Hi, I'm Phil Graney, philsgang.com. Why do they lose? Because they don't know how to short stocks in a down market. That will change once you use my patent Pro 2 color-coded chart. It works. The technology works. And it not only gives you an edge on the upside, but Pro 2 will put a smile on your face on the downside. That's right. Check it out. Free 10-day trial at philsgang.com. Hi, I'm Phil Grandy at philsgang.com. You know, I've been doing this business of trading over 55 years. God, they make it so complicated. It doesn't have to be. The best way to learn is to follow me, my actual investments. That's right. When I buy a stock, you follow me. Do exactly what I do. That's the best way to learn.
Check out the free 10-day trial. Learn more at philsgang.com.
Be my co-pilot at philsgang.com. Do what I do.
That's philsgang.com.
Remember, when this market crashed in 2009, it should have never crashed because the chairperson of these two committees, their job was to protect consumers, protect our investments, and they're supposed to ensure that our investments are being monitored. Where were they in 2009 and 2008? They weren't anywhere because they don't do that. They take care of themselves. They protect themselves. They become richer. So you can't depend on these crooks in Congress. The stock market is a great place to be, but you just got to know this is a different market than your grandfather's market. So why don't you, for 30 days, join my gang, 877-600-GANG, try it for 30 days, $39.95. Follow me. I tell you when to buy, when to sell, when to add, and when to run like hell. All I ask you, start making money. Please remember St. Jude.
Don't wait. Join Phil's Gang today and make profits. Go to philsgang.com or call 877-600-GANG. That's 877-600-4264. That's 877-600-4264. You want to invest your money and grow your wealth. How do you invest intelligently? Become a Phil's Gang member and receive the training, advice, and software that will take your investing to the next level. Phil's Gang software is easy to use, painless to navigate, and tells you exactly when to buy and sell to help maximize profits. Sign up for a 10-day free trial to see our platform in action. Learn more at philsgang.com. That's philsgang.com. When you listen to the advice of Phil Grandy at philsgang.com, you'll find investing in the stock market makes sense with the right guidance.
People keep saying to me, boy, things are hard. Things are tough. Boy, the market's really screwed up. And I don't agree with them. For us here at Phil's Gang, we make it so it's simple. It doesn't matter if the market's bad or good. We consistently do well because we make it simple. And just like for my listeners on the radio or on the internet or my podcast, we make it simple. We try to break it down so you really understand why the market is going up or why there's continued inflation or why the bank rates are going up. So you understand, especially yields. The most important thing to understand how yields work. Just what we do. We work hard at it.
Trusted advice, easy to understand strategies that will make you a better investor. Get all the details at philsgang.com. That's philsgang.com. You want to invest your money and grow your wealth. How do you invest intelligently? Become a Phil's Gang member and receive the training, advice, and software that will take your investing to the next level. Phil's Gang software is easy to use, painless to navigate, and tells you exactly when to buy and sell to help maximize profits. Sign up for a 10-day free trial to see our platform in action. Learn more at philsgang.com. That's philsgang.com. Welcome back. Are you a fan of the Phil's Gang radio show? Then you should check out philsgang.com or give them a call at 877-600-4264. Now, here's Phil.
So, last week, if you recall, on I think it was on Wednesday, they came out and said, wow, things are good. We're going to take out of these numbers, we're going to take out gasoline and we're going to take out food. And that gives us a Goldilocks economy because inflation then diminishes. And then they came out with this today. Now they want to take rent out. Look at this.
A lot of the inflation that we still have is in rent inflation, and I think that's what the market looked at. They said that, excluding rent.
Yeah, so now let's exclude rent too. So let's exclude the three things that you all have to get a job for. You can't escape it unless you want to be a bum, a hobo. You have to eat, and you need a place to sleep. That's rent. You can't exclude, and you got to have gasoline to get to your job. That's why homeless is getting bigger and bigger and bigger, because they can't afford rent. They can't afford gasoline to drive to work. And they go to now in San Francisco is the world's largest food kitchen. So what they're saying, the government now is saying, and Powell and the rest of them, is, well, in the White House, really, it's the White House saying just exclude food, energy, gasoline, and rent. And look at this. Inflation's going down. Yeah, it's like saying, well, let's just take the gas out of our car, the oil out of the engine, and look at this. The car's not going anywhere. So we don't have any expense. They're not good. Bankruptcies, they tell us how strong the economy is, how strong the consumer. The consumer's dying. He's dying. So again, if you joined our gang and learned how to short, you wouldn't be in the position you are now with your 401k, where you haven't made any money this year because you don't know how to short. Look, if you take, for example, let's take the tech stocks. If you took the tech stocks going back to, let's go back to even July. Go back to July. If you shorted those tech stocks, you would have made money. We were short those tech stocks. We've been shorting the bank stocks. We shorted the bank stocks from July. So, for example, our J.P. Morgan, we started to short J.P. Morgan, I think it was the end of July. And then we stayed short until I think it was somewhere around September 8th. Now, I'll just give you a number. I think we shorted, I'm not sure exactly without looking it up, but I'm pretty close. We shorted it when it was around 158, and then we took our profits when it was right around 142. That's a 10% return. While you're losing money. And then we took all our oil stocks, especially our refiners like Marathon Oil. We bought Marathon Oil, I think it was around $22.46. And we took most of our profits last week because we're close to $100 a barrel. And I think there's going to be a lot of profit taken. So that's, let's say, to $27. So let's say we got in, and again, I can't look it up here right now, but pretty close. We got in around $22, around 22, and then we got out around 27. That's a 20% gain in MRO. So once you learn how to go short and long, you don't care what the news is. So what they work on is making the news, the bad news, good news. So you'll buy stocks. Isn't that crazy? But with us, you're not going to do that. When we have bad news, where people are drawing their money out of their 401ks, they're taking money out of their home equity, they're taking the money out of their savings, and they say, boy, look how strong the consumer is. Boy, isn't he spending? No, he's falling behind because he's tapping out. They're falling behind. And right now, she's telling us how good things are, Yellen, right? But wait a minute. As of September, auto payments are behind. 7 million people are still behind on auto payments. 8 million people are behind on their rent. Oh, but don't worry about rent anymore. Take that out. 79 million people are behind on health care payments. That's why we shorted health care stocks. And 2.7 million behind on student loans. And the applications right now for housing, okay, down to nothing because there's no inventory. Because anybody who got a 2 or 3% mortgage, they're not selling their homes. They're not selling them. So the whole brokerage industry, banking industry, anything all tied to that, construction, they're all getting laid off. So, but it doesn't matter to you when you know how to short. So no matter what they say on Wednesday, whether rates go up or down, what do we care? It doesn't matter. So we've been working with our tech stocks. Okay, like Microsoft is one of our tech stocks, right? So again, we've been short and long Microsoft. We started to buy Microsoft in March. And we started to buy Microsoft, I forget what it is, pretty close to 272 is when we bought it. And then we took profits around 345, something like that, 350, somewhere in that area. That's a 27% gain. Okay, and then we started to short it. We started to short it in August. I think we shorted it from, I think we got around August 4th. That was around, 328. And then we got out when it was somewhere around, I think it was 318. That's a little 4% after we went long. So the idea is if you know how to go long and you know how to go short, it doesn't really matter to you whether what oil's doing, if it's going. Here's another one, oil. When nobody was buying oil. Nobody wanted oil because oil started in November 8th, 2022. If you let's take Conoco. Conoco went from 138 down to about $94. We shorted Conoco. That's about a 32% drop. But if you didn't short it, you would have lost money. Now, to get that 32% back, you got to get a gain of more than 32% just to break even. But if you short it, let's say you picked up 32%, 20%, even 18%, and then you got back in and went long when you had a buy signal, okay, on July 6th of $100. And today's $124. So that's 24% gain. So you always got to be making money whether the market goes down or market goes up. If you're sitting there thinking you can just make money, listen to these people, these fake Business News Network people, and listen to what they say. And if you think you can just make money just buying stocks without shorting, never having the shorting skill, and that's the problem with 401ks. They won't allow you to sell short. So join the gang. It's free for 10 days. At the end of 10 days, at least you walk out knowing how to sell short. Didn't cost you anything. Check it out. Now, remember what I'm telling you. This market is going to crash. Everybody says, no, it's not. It's not going to crash. It's going to crash. I see this market going down to the lows where we were in 2018 and 2020, which is about a 50% drop. It's going to take time to get there because they're propping it up with the emergency bank term funding program. That's how they're propping it up. And then they keep on printing all this money. Still, it's more inflation. But one morning, you mark my words, you're going to wake up, you're going to go put on the TV, and you'll see the market's down 1,200 points. And that'll be the beginning of it. And then people will run like hell. But they've been very successful, okay, at propping this market up. And it just means that when the market drops, it's going to be more severe. The Federal Reserve raised rates 11 times since March 2022, and people think the market's not going to go down? And there's 70 million more credit card accounts now, open now, than there was in 2019, and people are tapped out. They don't think the market's going to go down. And personal debt is higher than it ever was, and they don't think the market's going to go down. Everything's going to be just Goldilocks. Oh, I forgot. You take out food, energy, and rent. What are you going to take out next? Your clothes? Breathing? That's the next one. Take out breathing.
You have been listening to Phil's Gang with your host, Phil Grandy, on the Off the Wall Street Radio Network. Off the Wall Street Radio Network. Remember to visit Phil's website at philsgang.com. That's philsgang.com. Or call the office, 877-600-4264. That's 877-600.